You're about to receive what Tired Dylan over here wish he had about 10 plus years ago when he was struggling with obstructive sleep apnea. This is the complete step by step blueprint that allowed me to go from this tired, fuzzy picture to someone who is able to make really big strides in a relatively short amount of time. So, AHI from 25.7, which is moderate, down to 3. And if you have your diagnostic manual with you, less than 5 means no sleep apnea. And I broke it down into a simple three-step process. The A.I.R method, the acronym worked out really well. Really proud about that. And not only has this been something that has been helpful for me because it allowed me to just get back to normal, easy sleep in just a few months. That has been the case for many people here. And we have severe studies here. These are sleep studies, by the way. People going from severe 35.1 down to 2.7 or 51, which is pretty high, very high, down to 4.5. So a lot of people have been able to use these principles to allow themselves to get back to nice and easy sleep here. So I'm Dylan Peckus. This is what I wish I had back in medical school when dealing with this. This is all for educational purposes only. This is not medical advice. This is not interpreted as a way to cure, manage, or treat any condition, including sleep apnea. Instead, this is about supporting your overall health. Talk to your doctor before making any changes in your health and health habits. Extensive disclaimer there. That's quite the paragraph. So the very first part of the A.I.R method. So there's 3 steps total. We'll reveal one by one because I mean that just makes the most sense linearly. So first one is about activating slow breathing. You see it? Great. Now you may have heard me give this spiel before about the root cause here. If you have, cool, as a review. If not, here's a brand new thing for you here. So back in the 50s, all right, before they even had like cell phones, they found this is some of the original sleep apnea research, by the way. They found that breathing fast at night, if you can induce that, you can actually cause obstructive sleep apnea. And the mechanics of this, if you look at more recent mechanistic papers, this is a 2022 review paper, that airway inspiration is what triggers the collapse of the airway. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying your anatomy doesn't matter. Still does. But the thing is, if your airway is closer together, it's going to be a lot easier to collapse that, right? And then the other thing that happens is when you have a more narrow airway, like breathing through a straw, you have to breathe more, breathe faster to get the same amount of air. As a result, because our bodies will just create these patterns and behaviors, such as breathing a little bit faster. When that happens, when you're breathing faster, you'll be laid sideways and put into a diagram like this. But more importantly, have a fast inhale, and that will pull those tissues. Very important for the second step, but just for the first step, it'll pull those tissues into the back of the throat, block off the airway, and that's when you're snoring. That's when you're gasping for air, causing a lot of concern, all that. So if the problem is fast, the solution is slow. I should have done that in Spanish to have a Dora the Explorer effect, but nonetheless, slow inhale will prevent those tissues from being pulled in and the airway is more likely to stay open. All right. Now, this isn't just me making up a bunch of stuff and putting it on a digital whiteboard. This is something also shown in the research. So this is a big review, a systematic review, and a meta-analysis. So kind of like the top 2 things of gold standard of research you can do, and just kind of push it together. And they looked at all the different studies, a lot of different studies, a lot of variants here. And they found that with these breathing exercises, well, the wide array, we'll talk about a specific set in a moment. Some very real reductions in AHI around 8. Again, that's a study with a lot of people, uh, not having a like clear cut step by step sort of path there. That's what we have, and that's why I have seen and have seen in others far better results. Now, sounds great, right? Can't believe Kramer is just there telling me a cool story. That was to kind of incite you to comment and tell me that I'm wrong. But in terms of what that looks like, of being able to activate healthy breathing, slow breathing, I want you to think of the following analogy. We want to get stronger. We want to do more push ups. You have a few options. You can just try push ups and, say if you're too weak for them, which is fine, you're growing. It's going to be very hard to do a standard push up here. So you may need to have some regressions, right? Things that are far easier. Push-ups against the wall, push-ups on your knees, and then you can do regular push-ups, and then I think at some point you become a lizard over here. A very interesting push-up. It's a staggered push-up. I can see that there. Thank you, Healthy Monday, wherever you may be. So this is the sort of the milestone blueprint. If you for this first factor, all right, we got two more to go. If you saw that blister there, that is what digging in North Florida clay will do to you. Installing a garden, if you're wondering. So you want to go from basically point 1 all the way to point 6. Now, I'm gonna like skip ahead for a moment before explaining these. These are milestones, okay? There will be steps in between, just like with the push-up here. Like if you go from the push-up on the knees to the regular push-ups, maybe you need to do like negatives where you only lower yourself first, or maybe you need to do like accessory exercises, right? Like tricep extensions or something. There's in betweens, but there's also milestones. So the milestones here, and this is for any of these, it's being able to do these for 10 minutes comfortably. Not you do it once, gasping, right? Just like you could say you master a regular push-up by being able to do like 10 or 15 or 20 of them. Same thing with these exercises. So here's the milestone. So 10 in, 10 out. So like a normal through your nose, 10 inhale, and then 10 out through your nose. This is all nasally, by the way. Nose breathing, a little outside the scope of this, but if you do nasal breathing here, it'll improve. Then the second milestone is being able to do comfortably 4 count inhale, 12 count exhale. So the reason for this, if you notice, you're spending a lot more time in the exhale, a ton more, and having way less inhale time. The reason for that, you're wondering like, what is this random assortment of exercises, is increasing CO2 tolerance. Now, a lot of times I talk about the relaxed pause and CO2 tolerance, so I'm trying to keep this video short. But the idea is the more you can tolerate CO2, it will help reprogram your brain so that slow breathing is more of your default mode at night. All right. So now you know. So that's kind of the overarching goal, is increasing your exposure to CO2, just like with a push-up progression, it's getting more and more of your body weight into it. All right. A wall push-up, not so much your body weight. Knees on the floor, more. Regular, much more. Handstand, push-up, all the way. So we did number 2. Then number 3 is 7 box breathing. So it's 7 in, 7 hold, 7 out, 7 hold. Repeat. Do that there. That's going to be, again, a lot slower, a lot more time in CO2 land with the exhales and the holds. Next one is just a much harder version of that. 5 count inhale, 12 count hold, 5 count out, 12 count hold. All right. And then from there, 5 in, 5 out, 30 hold. These may seem nigh impossible, but these are things that people get to. And here's the other thing. Just like when you progress in the push-up, it doesn't mean you're not strong unless pineapple. Just like with the push-up, your definition of strength isn't because you can do like a one-handed lizard push-up, right? So with these, many people report that they're sleeping way, way better, whether it's by like milestone 3, 4, 5. Because some of these milestones 5 and 6, they are difficult on paper. They're easy to get to as you get into it, but that's what that is. That's the 5th milestone. And then the 6th milestone, which is the most humbling, is 4 count in, 4 count out, 12 count hold while walking. While walking. You've been warned. All right. And like I said before, all those are just a milestone. It would be ill-advised, and I don't advise people, and I did not do this myself, to do exercise 1 and then try exercise 2. It's the in-betweens. You need to do in between, just like with these push-up regressions and progressions here. Now, of course, you can always find that for yourself, like I did. Now, if you want more of a shortcut of where we're literally building in all these progressions for you and it's matched to your and your current level of ability, that's what the personalized breathing blueprint is all about. Because not only does it help you step by step with the first part of the pillar we're talking about here today, but also the next 2 that we're going to get into. So you have your custom breathing plan, and you also have direct access to me for really like next to nothing. All right, being able to whether it's a group call or a group chat or forum, all that is there for you. And also holistic health protocols take care of those other aspects there. So if you want to check that out, you can go to apneareset.com/show. The link is also in the description there. Just go there, click sign up. It is there for you. Now, the second step or the second letter of this process is about integrating airway muscles. So with sleep apnea, a lot of floppy muscles cause a lot of issues because if there's just more flop, it's just going to drop. That sounds like a really bad bumper sticker. But nonetheless, we are familiar with some concepts, right? Like our tongue, if it's weak or if it's big, it's more likely to go into the back of the airway. But it doesn't just stop there. It could be your soft palate. It could be the back of the throat here. There's all these different tissues in there. And if they're weak, they're going to droop down and it's going to cause some problems. So being able to help out our airway muscles will help out our airway and our breathing. Now, there's a lot of different pieces going on. Not only those muscles in there, but also different aspects like how our chin is, our head posture. There's many different things because if your muscle and positioning is not very good, it's going to cause some problems here. But if we get things into good position, we have stronger muscles, airway is going to be open a lot more. And again, this is something that is demonstrated in the research. So this is more commonly referred to as myofunctional exercises. More international research will call this oropharyngeal exercises. Neither of those names roll off the tongue, which is ironic. Maybe they name it that way so you get a tongue workout. So what they found in this clinical research trial is about a drop of, what is that, around 9 events per hour. So again, you can see how stacking these things in a general sense, because again, we have people who like they just do some of the myofunctional stuff and they're like, oh wow, that's great. Oh, and there's more like they didn't know, but it did really, really well there. But clinically shown, it's a thing. People should know about it. So how to put this into action? So the kind of the general flow of understanding this is one, you want to determine the major weaknesses involved. Because if we look at whether it's any of these anatomical charts or this thing, there's a lot of different things. And one of the biggest complaints I'll hear from people when, say, they go to a myofunctional therapist, which you can still do, I'm not like poo pooing that, I'm just saying a complaint that's often shared with me, is they're doing like all these different exercises. And they're like, what is doing what here? Why am I blowing through a straw? Why is there a button in my mouth? What's going on? So the fewer exercises you do, the better, because you're more likely to do them and then have success. So identifying what those weaknesses are is like step 0, right? Difficult to do by yourself, but still something to factor in here. And a myofunctional therapist could be a part of that for you. Number 1, in my book, is motor control of the different muscles. So for instance, if I said elevate your palate, maybe there'd be a couple people who they play the flute or sing and would be able to do that. Most others would be like, what are you talking about? So being able to control these muscles consciously will help you train them so their posture at night or the tone is increased so that instead of flopping back to the airway, they're not in the airway and things are good. So we're going to use the tongue as an example as we run through this. Number 1 is motor control of the tongue. Because a lot of times I'll tell people like one of my favorite exercises to show is I call it like the tongue click or tongue to the roof of your mouth. Basically, you do what I just did or this gentleman over here, just suctioning your tongue to the roof of your mouth. Now, ideally, your mouth is closed when doing this. I want to be very clear. Your mouth is closed. It's just hard to demonstrate that. Kind of pointless. So you want to have your mouth closed. Now, not everyone can do that. Sometimes they do it wrong. They're like, their tongue's just all over the place. So motor control would be as follows, so like the slow tongue clicks here. So instead of going right to that, you just do a very slow tongue click. Or you can even start with a fast one. Most people know how to do that because most people, maybe I'm just speaking for myself, was a really annoying second grader who really liked to do that. But you just do the fast click and then you just slow it down. Right? And as you slow it down, you realize you're actually in this position. You just didn't know how to get into it very well. And then from there, you can more on demand just go to that suction position. So that's just one example of improving the motor skill. Continuing with that, because the next one is range of motion. This think of our push-ups again. If you can only go like this far, okay, this is like not a good depth of dimension. If you can only move your arms so far, you're not going to be able to train push-ups very well. Same thing with the tongue exercises. That's where these tongue stretch outs come into play. And the way you want to think about it, I'll do it once because if I was to my mom, I wouldn't be made famous on the internet. Um, I this joke is not PG-13, but anyway, what we're gonna do is stick your tongue out. Like you're gonna lick an ice cream cone or something like that, and basically you think of it like you're a cartoon character licking a massive ice cream cone, like. And as you do that, you'll feel ridiculous. I won't do it once, but you'll feel a stretch there in your tongue. Like really, if, as you have your tongue out, I'll just use my hand, kind of like paint up and down like that. You'll feel a stretch. If not, you just gotta stick your tongue out even more. All right. So that is the tongue stretch out there, and that would be something you do for repetitions, like say 15 reps, 3 sets. Very little rest in between. So we have more range of motion. Now it is time for some strength endurance. I say strength endurance because it's about the amount of time you can hold a posture that carries over into the night. So for this one, the roof holds, it's I mean basically what we were doing in the beginning, and just doing that for some amount of time. So you may hold it for like 60 seconds and do that for 3 sets. It'll start to build that strength and endurance. So when you do lay down at night, your tongue will be ever so slightly forward or just less likely to flop back. And that's why, whether it's been myself, others, research having improvements. Now, of course, again, your mileage will vary because when we talk about all these things, maybe your tongue is not the biggest issue. For most people, I would say generally it is. That's why I picked it as an example. But maybe it is your chin and your jaw. And then you need to focus on that and then go through those pieces there. So that is factor number 2. And if you're following along, the next one would be number 3. I know that wasn't a great segue, but I figured that was going to give your brain some time to breathe before we do the third point. So the third one is recharge the cell. So let's start on an even basis here. This is your mitochondria. It makes energy in your cells. Very cool. You can type the thing in the comments if you really want. I'm not going to say it. And not only does it make energy, it's also produces carbon dioxide. Similar to your car engine, it makes energy to move the wheels, but there's also byproducts, right? Now, carbon dioxide isn't just a byproduct of waste that you put in the trash or whatever. It has a very potent biological signal. Mother Nature does not waste anything. CO2 is what tells your brain to tell your lungs to breathe more. That's what it does, which is very smart, great design, because when you're more metabolically active, you'll make more CO2 and you should probably breathe more. I think that's a fair assessment of the situation. So that's what happens, as luck would have it. Now, to connect this, I was trying to make a big diagram, but we ended up with 5 bullet points here. The mitochondria that makes CO2. Great. CO2 regulates breathing. Right. We just heard that, Dylan. New thing for your brain. Maybe not. Number 3, damaged mitochondria will make less CO2. Number 4, less CO2 will be a weaker signal to your brain. Right? That's not what we want. Okay. Healthy mitochondria will have more steady CO2. So more and also more steady. There's a little bit of nuance here. Okay, we'll do the whole nuance alert. So bad mitochondria is like less, but also like more regular. Healthy mitochondria, more regular and steady. We want regular, steady, somewhat higher levels of CO2. It's not like dangerous, but that allows us to have a better signal between our brain and our breath. So knowing that about cellular physiology and energy production, like what should you actually do? So I also got this one to 3 R's. I'm really proud of my, I guess, acronyms and alliteration today. So, first one is reduce inflammation. So, maybe you've seen this graphic a lot. Hopefully you have. I've been doing my job. But basically, the main way in which sleep apnea mediates its damage throughout your body is inflammation. So, factors 1 and 2 will help remove that stimulus, but your cells are still kind of on fire. You should probably do a little extra legwork, my friend. So one of the top ways to reduce inflammation, I mean, there's many. I mean, this whole part of the episode could expand into the 3 or 4 hours, but we'll keep it simple. So foods, making sure you're having less inflammatory foods, and we can all argue about what should actually be on the right side versus the wrong side here. But the idea is less inflammation in your diet has also been shown to reduce sleep apnea severity. Now, it could be your diet, it could be your environment, it could be stress in your life. Stressing you out, raising your inflammation, that's not good. So, whatever is inflammatory in your life, that's what you want to do. First thing. Then, number two is then repleting nutrition. And this applies to sort of two main facets, right? Number one, the mitochondria. All right. So, there'll be different B vitamins, they'll get wasted, magnesium, different minerals, which will be very, very important to replete here. And then when you add the sleep apnea layer on top of this, some of these are emphasized even more, like vitamin B1, which is thiamine, zinc, copper, etc. Selenium, which is on here as well. Those have been shown directly in studies to be low in individuals with sleep apnea. And again, if you have a metabolic state, a disease state with sleep apnea, and it causes your body to behave differently or work differently, you're going to deplete nutrients. So even if you fix your breathing and sleep, you're still depleting those nutrients. They're not gonna come back just because 'cause you're sleeping better. Selenium's not just, like, floating in the air. You have to bring those back in there. And I wanna be very clear. Don't just look at this chart and then fire up your Amazon tab or whatever and be like, "Alright, Black Friday, supplement bulk order." Don't do that. Don't slam a bunch of supplements because you saw them on a chart on a YouTube video. Talk to your licensed healthcare provider about what might be good for you. Number 3 is restoring function here. Whoever made this graphic, very pessimistic. You want to have the good state on the right here, but effectively, most of you, if you're not sleeping well, that's you. You're on the right. Your mitochondria are in the red. They're not doing well. Bad. On the left is how mitochondria should be, of where it's healthy. It is able to process fuel. It's able to handle stress and then become stronger. That's the resiliency. And I should have gone with restore resiliency. That would have been even better. But as you restore that resiliency, that's where a lot of the goodness comes in, like anti-aging and helping with other diseases as well. Some of the best ways to do that, building up your aerobic base. All right. So this could be like walking and breathing through your nose at the same time. This can elevate into doing like high intensity interval training, right? That's going to be very helpful in restoring function. Optimizing your sleep, which is also right there with circadian rhythm alignment, right? That's going to help your mitochondria be more resilient and also function correctly. Feel all the timing of things, right? Like light in the morning, dark in the evening is sending your body a signal to function correctly. We already talked about stress there. So a lot of different ways to restore the function of those mitochondria. Now, I know we covered a lot here, all right? There's a bunch of different things, but your big takeaway is just focus on one thing. Because when you're doing things by yourself, you're out there in the YouTube sphere, it can be difficult to have all these like 10,000 different things. Because I'm sure I'm not the only video you've watched on YouTube today or tomorrow. But just really pick one thing to be consistent with, because that will allow you to actually have the change and moving in a direction instead of having a new different tip every other day of the week and just going in circles. And again, if you want us to help you stay on a nice straight path so you're having better sleep as quickly as possible, that is what the personalized breathing blueprint is all about. Where all three of those pillars are integrated into this with your custom breathing plan, the holistic protocols such as our myofunctional module there that helps you identify, hey, what might be the biggest, best exercises for you so you get your airway muscles right, and holistic protocols to make sure you're focusing in on the right things that are going to be really worth your time. And then, of course, me, I'm there to answer questions, help guide you, and keep you nice and educated and smart there. So if that's what you're interested in, you can go ahead and go to apneareset.com/show If I am really smart, Dylan, who's going to edit this later, make sure there's a button in the middle that people can click over here. As you can see my great hand, and it'll take you to the same place. Go to apneareset.com/show. Either way, Dylan Pecos here, and I'll see you on the next page.